One last quick thing why so many Americans deeply and truly appreciated the election of President Trump was that he spoke during his campaign about the idea we're going to stop bringing Islamic terrorists to this country. We're going to adjust our visa policies, our immigration refugee policies, to protect American citizens. Trump took it one step further. His administration, the head of the U.S. Department of Education, announced that they gave notice to the Duke University, Duke UNC Consortium for Middle East Studies, which just last year got $235,000 in your tax dollars, federal government tax dollars, going to these two universities, UNC and Duke, for their Consortium for Middle East Studies. And the reason that Trump announced that they're going to stop funding it unless they shape up is that the organization claimed it was all about helping train people to go into foreign service and share understanding in foreign languages. The reality is Islamic indoctrination, mockery and dismissal of the seriousness of Christianity and its place and purpose in the world, mockery of Judaism and its place in the world. The short story was it was essentially advocacy for Islamic indoctrination. And these kind of things, recently we talked about in the show, we had one senator spoke up in Washington and said, why do we have Confucius centers funded on these U.S. campuses, the public universities? And the Confucius centers are supposed to be about sharing Chinese language and cultural exchange, and they're really just about pushing communism. Same things happen with respect to Islam. Islamic centers in major universities around this country, including public universities, spreading Islamic indoctrination, engaged in what we were just talking about, civilizational jihad, under the banner of increasing understanding, sharing information. Same thing happened too. There was a recent announcement about, in fact, the expression used in the big announcement was that in the K through 12 schools in our country, the term was whitewashing Islamism. There's teaching in the American public schools, K through 12 schools, about Islam that has much more to do with not mentioning anything about Islam's 1400 plus year history of brutal conquest, murder of millions of people so that they could engage in the forced spread of Islam, the jihad that the Quran requires. That's not mentioned. In fact, if anything is mentioned in these programs, it was more about criticizing Christian and American conduct. Islam held up to the standard of that can't be criticized, and Christianity quite regularly bashed. And people are finally saying, hey, wait a minute, we got to reinsert truth around here. This is just a little bit crazy. So I'll tell you, if you go back to the beginning of the show today and our little conversation about what happened at Mar-a-Lago in Florida and how you have two actual serious conservative leaders banned from their program they plan to give relating to ACT, which is the organization to awaken people to speak up and act up to stand up against Islamization in America, and Michelle Malkin, that's Brigitte Gabriel, Michelle Malkin, they're talk about who's the big money behind the border problem. And it's the American left, the silencers, the enforcers of silence that are saying they shouldn't be allowed to speak. If you think that is just one little incident of literally thousands and thousands and thousands that happen all across this country all day long, and if you don't start speaking up, you will lose your right to speak.